to everything. I just had a party for Xylo on her birthday, and he did not show up. And he said he was.
You invite him?
Yes, I did. He talked about it all week that he was going to be there, and he did not show up. You could at least let me know it was going to happen. Like, I asked him, did it happen? And he straight up said no.
The night Atlanta held its breath, it wasn't because of music or another flashy event, but because Bambi finally had enough. For years she carried herself with grace, letting people call her dramatic, bitter, or difficult, while the truth simmered in silence. But now, she was done swallowing pain in private. The sit-down between Bambi and Momma Dee wasn't just a family conversation. It was a storm waiting to tear 3 years of lies, missed birthdays, unspoken grudges, and the one person who thrived off the chaos, Scrappy. If you thought this was going to be a calm reunion over tea, you were dead wrong. Bambi walked into the room already carrying every memory of humiliation she'd endured, every christening she wasn't invited to, every whisper of disrespect, every time she was made the villain while Scrappy smirked on the sidelines. The air was thick, but Bambi wasn't interested in pretending. She looked Momma Dee dead in the eyes, her voice steady but burning, reminding her that she had just thrown a birthday party for her daughter Xyo, and Scrappy had sworn up and down that he'd be there. He told the kids he'd come. He even told Bambi he'd show up. But when the moment came, he disappeared. He lied again, and what made it worse?
I know me and Bambi don't have the best relationship, but I read about Bambi's breakup in the blogs, and I've been worried about her ever since. The last time we met up, it went 40 going south.
I really don't care.
You do care.
You said you graduated from college and you don't have a college degree.
I absolutely brought it for you. Hang up on your...
No, that's not real.
You know what?
Momma Dee excused it. She didn't even tell Bambi about the family events she hosted on her own for years. This had been the game, Scrappy whispering one thing to his mother, another to his wife, watching them clash while he slid out of the line of fire. Bambi had started to realize it wasn't just petty miscommunication, it was deliberate. And the one who suffered most wasn't just her, it was the kids who watched adults they loved, constantly choosing lies over loyalty. He told me he was invited, Bambi said with fire in her voice. He talked about it all week. Then he stood my daughter up. He made me look like a fool. Those words weren't just about a missed birthday. They were about years of gaslighting, years of being erased, years of being left out of the family she fought so hard to be a part of. Momma Dee, sitting across from her, shifted uncomfortably. For once, the queen herself didn't have a quick clapback. Instead, she tried to soften her tone. She admitted that maybe Scrappy had been stirring the pot all these years. Maybe he wanted the two women at war so that he could escape accountability. But to Bambi, it sounded like another half-hearted excuse.
I know Momma Dee loves her grandchildren, but I've seen this so many times from her, so it's just like really hard for me to accept it. I just let these people do all these things, say all these things, spread all these lies about me, and then I'm expected to just show up like nothing has happened.
How many times could Momma Dee apologize and then do the same thing again? How many times could Bambi forgive and then find herself blindsided at the next event? Watching photos of her children surface online while she sat at home uninvited? It wasn't just about events, it was about dignity, about respect, about the lie Scrappy spun to keep everyone divided. He told Bambi one thing, told Momma Dee another, then sat back and watched them clash while playing victim to the cameras. And while Momma Dee claimed she wanted peace now, Bambi wasn't ready to believe it. Not after 10 years of humiliation. I don't know if this is genuine, she said flatly, or if this is just for show. Because every time I start to trust, y'all prove me wrong. Her words cut through the air like glass shattering. And for a moment even Momma Dee couldn't hide behind her queenly persona. She confessed that age had changed her, that God had been dealing with her spirit, that she wanted to do better. She swore she didn't want to play games anymore. But Bambi wasn't a wide-eyed girl anymore. She was a mother, a survivor of divorce, a woman who had walked through fire and refused to come out smelling like smoke, and her patience had burned away. "You fooled me once," she snapped. "Fooled me twice. Fooled me for 170 times. That's not on you anymore. That's on me if I keep letting it happen." This wasn't just a conversation. This was a reckoning. For the first time, Bambi put the responsibility squarely where it belonged. She told Momma Dee she would no longer accept being erased, silenced, or excluded. If there were events for the children, she would know about them. Period. No more finding out on Instagram. No more excuses from Scrappy. No more "I didn't think you come." Those days were done, and yet beneath all the rage, there was something raw in Bambi's voice. Something vulnerable. Because deep down, she wasn't doing this for herself. She was doing it for her children. For the kids who deserve to see their family united, not divided. For the daughters and sons who shouldn't have to ask why mommy and grandma can't sit in the same room. That's what made her words land with even more weight. This wasn't about clout. It was about healing scars that had been passed down to long Momma Dee. Wiping away a tear she tried to hide, swore this time was different. She promised that moving forward, Bambi would be notified of every event. That no one, not even my son, she emphasized, would come between them again. But promises are easy to make. Bambi sat back, arms crossed, the skepticism written all over her face. She'd heard it all before. The cameras could capture her nodding, but inside she was screaming, "We'll see." The tension grew heavier when the christening came up. Bambi demanded to know how something so sacred could happen without her being included as a mother of the children. Momma Dee stumbled over her explanation, saying she didn't know if Bambi would want to attend. That things between her and Scrappy were so bad she assumed she'd stay away. But what Bambi heard was simple: "You erased me from my children's moment. You robbed me of something I can never get back." It was in that moment that the real truth spilled out. The truth that Scrappy had been the one fueling this division all along. That he wanted his mother and wife at war so he could keep lying to both. That he had promised Bambi he'd be there for Zio's party, then told Momma Dee another story. That his cowardice wasn't just hurting to women, it was tearing his own family apart. And when Momma Dee admitted it, when she finally said, "Maybe he did try to pit us against each other," the silence hit like thunder. Bambi leaned forward, eyes narrowed, because now the mask was slipping. For the first time, the truth wasn't just something she felt in her gut. It was something Momma Dee was forced to admit out loud. This wasn't just another family spat for reality TV. This was the unraveling of a pattern. The exposing of a son who thrived off division. And the start of a fragile promise that things might, maybe, change. But could they? Could Bambi really trust Momma Dee after all the betrayals? Could Momma Dee really put boundaries in place against her own son? And what would happen when Scrappy realized the women he pitted against each other were finally turning their anger on him? The cameras caught it all: the silence, the tension, the uneasy truths. But what the cameras couldn't capture was the storm building outside the room. Because while Bambi and Momma Dee tried to piece together the ruins of a decade, Scrappy was somewhere else, already plotting his next move. And when he walks back into the room, will he admit his lies or light the fire all over again? The room still carried the echo of Bambi's last words, sharp and unforgettable. She had laid it out bare. Years of lies, years of manipulation, and the painful reality that Scrappy had played both sides for too long. For once, Momma Dee wasn't arguing, wasn't shouting, wasn't throwing her royal titles around. Instead, she sat there, her hands clasped together, her crown slipping in silence as she tried to prove this time was different. But if you've watched these two women long enough, you already know silence doesn't mean peace, it's the pause before the next explosion. Bambi leaned back, crossing her arms, her eyes still locked on Momma Dee. "Do you understand," she said slowly, "that you let this man, your son, convince you I was the enemy? Do you understand how many nights I went home humiliated? Because of something he whispered in your ear?" The words weren't just accusations. They were wounds reopened, scars ripped apart in front of the cameras. Momma Dee blinked, her eyes glistening, and admitted something no one thought she'd ever say. "I let him. I let my baby play with me. I let him play with us both. And I'm ashamed." That confession could have been a turning point. But Bambi didn't soften. How could she? How do you forgive someone who let the world paint you as bitter and difficult, when the truth was you were surviving lies spun by a man who claimed to love you? The pain came pouring out: how Scrappy would promise to show up for their daughter's birthday, only to disappear. How he made excuses that always placed blame on Bambi. How Momma Dee went along with it, shutting her out of christenings and family moments, then smiling on social media like everything was fine. It wasn't fine. It never was. "Every time I tried to defend myself," Bambi said, her voice trembling but fierce, "you made me out to be the problem. You told people I was cold, that I was disrespectful. But the whole time, your son was lying to both of us. And you chose to believe him because it was easier than facing the truth." The silence that followed was deafening. Momma Dee pressed her hand to her chest, whispering, "You're right, and I'm sorry. I don't want to lose my grandbabies because I couldn't see what was happening." That was the moment things shifted. For the first time, Bambi saw Momma Dee not as a queen, not as an enemy, but as a grandmother terrified of losing her connection to the children. "All I want," Momma Dee continued, "is to see them happy. I want to see them laugh, see them play, see them loved by all of us. That's it. I don't want any more wars." But forgiveness isn't something that happens overnight. Bambi shook her head, her voice low but steady. "You can say all that, but I've heard it before. I've seen you promise change, then turn around and do the same thing again. You want to prove you're serious? Then show me. Show me by making sure I never have to find out about another family event through Instagram. Show me by telling your son to stop lying to his kids. Show me by standing up to him when he tries to pit us against each other. Because words don't heal what's been done. Actions do. The weight of those demands lingered in the air, and for once Momma Dee didn't argue. She nodded, admitting she had failed before, but swore this time would be different. I'll prove it, she said firmly. I won't let nobody, not even my son, come between us again. He might be my baby, but he's a grown man, and he doesn't have to live with the choices he's made. That statement shocked even Bambi. For years, Momma Dee had defended Scrappy to the ends of the earth, no matter what he did. To hear her finally put the responsibility back on him felt like a breakthrough. But trust isn't built in a single conversation. Bambi nodded slowly, reminding her we can try. But I'm watching. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me for 170 times, shame on me. I won't let it happen again. The kids became the center of the talk, as both women admitted they didn't want the next generation. Growing up in the shadow of this dysfunction, Momma Dee promised she would be present, that she would notify Bambi of every event, no excuses. Bambi, still skeptical, agreed they could take baby steps, but the words carried weight. Baby steps meant she was willing to try, not willing to forget. And then, just when it seemed like the tension was softening, Bambi brought up the one question that hung heavy over the entire room. What happens when he finds out we sat here and talked about him? What happens when Scrappy realizes he can't play us anymore? The room went silent. Momma Dee took a deep breath, and for the first time, her voice carried steel instead of softness. Then he doesn't have to deal with it, because I'm not letting him come between us again. Not now, not ever. If he doesn't like it, that's on him. That declaration was powerful, but dangerous. Because if you know anything about Scrappy, you know he doesn't take betrayal lightly, especially not from the two women. He spent years controlling, and now, with both of them finally seeing the truth, his power was slipping. The cameras captured every second, the shaky truths, the half-smiles, the promises laced with doubt. But underneath it all was a storm waiting to explode. Bambi left the table knowing she had said her piece, but not convinced this peace would last. Momma Dee sat back, holding on to hope, but haunted by the thought of how Scrappy would react when he found out. Because make no mistake, this wasn't the end. This was the beginning of a new war. Bambi had exposed the lies. Momma Dee had admitted the truth. And now the ball was in Scrappy's court. Would he own up to his role in the chaos, or would he burn it all down to keep control? Atlanta was buzzing. Social media was ready to dissect every clip. And as the night closed, one thing was clear. The fragile peace between Bambi and Momma Dee wasn't built on trust. It was built on suspicion, on shaky promises, and on the hope that maybe, just maybe, the love for their kids could outweigh the damage of a decade. But with Scrappy looming in the background, the real question wasn't whether these two women could find peace. The real question was whether Scrappy would allow it, and if history has taught us anything, the answer to that is rarely yes. That is rarely yes.